hello, and welcome to Aldente Rigamotus. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have the Mandela effect. So we're continuing a slew of Shadow Swimmer stories, continuing with the Mandela effect, which is a short story that they wrote as an entry for Corn Conic's Liminal Spaces story contest on creepypasta.wiki. And you can check that out at creepypasta.wiki. But before we move any further, let's give our initial recommendations. I am going to recommend this one.
I am also going to recommend this one.
I will unmute myself and then copy both of you. I recommend this one as well.
All right. I was really waiting for just like no, just like your like signature like no.
Nah, bro.
But yeah. Well, let's dive in and find out why we all recommend this one. Starting with the rundown, featuring The Rock, because narrator doesn't have a name. So yes, it's now part of what my write-ups for the rundown. So in brackets, The Rock, because no name for the narrator, talks about the Mandela effect, where various people recall something as one thing when it actually isn't that thing. On top of the false memory theory around the Mandela effect, they also bring up the theory that the reason this happens is because some people just kind of shuffle or slip between various alternate realities that are so close to our own that only minor differences exist. They then proceed to give their own experience with this. It was when they were a child of 10 back in 1994, but it's something that's been burned into their mind. Their Uncle Mike decided to take The Rock and his two cousins and two brothers, older brother Danny and younger brother David, on a mid-Atlantic region road trip to visit various relatives. Uncle Mike is a bit eccentric, or was a bit eccentric. Rip Mike, because he apparently passed away by the end of the story. Well, not in the actual road trip, but just in the interim time between childhood and the character writing the story. Yeah, basically, yeah. But yeah, back to the story. Uncle Mike was a bit eccentric and insisted on gassing up his Winnebago at speedway stations and staying the night at Marriott hotels when they had to stay over, when they had to stop for the night.
How do you pronounce that?
Marriott.
Oh, I didn't hear the T. I thought you just called it Mario.
Mahoo! Oh man, rip the voice of Mario too. That happened this week.
Shit, really?
Well, no, he's not dead, but he's going to stop being the voice of Mario.
No.
Yeah.
God,
back to the story. Well, he was in the movie too. He was actually their dad in the movie.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. Back to the story at hand.
We're never going to get to the story.
No. The whole 10-day trip that they went on was fantastic until they got to the last Marriott of this trip, which was in New York City next to the World Trade Center. I'm just going to continue on. David had been bugging The Rock for a while, as younger brothers do, and they were going to do the usual Marriott pool visit that they had been doing for every trip, because the Marriotts have this pool, or have these pool rooms where the pools are always in a different configuration, or they're always they're always they're different in some way or fashion. And the kids love going to the pool, as kids often do when they go on vacation. So this particular one, they were running out of time because David was was wasting time trying to tie his own shoes and such. And they get down to the pool and they meet up with their two cousins that were down there. Danny, his older brother, had decided to stay with Uncle Mike and watch some TV and such in the rooms. And this pool was different from other Marriott pools because this one had 3 water slides that went into the pool. So the kids race up the stairs to the slides, and the two cousins snag 2 of the slides, and the Rock takes the 3rd slide ahead of his brother, despite his brother's, sadness and wailing and gnashing of teeth and such. When the Rock splashes through the 3rd slide into the pool, waiting for his brother to follow, no one comes down the slide. Nothing happens. He then discovers that no one knows who David is when he asks, and proceeds to freak out. Mom is called. The trip takes a more somber turn as they return home without David. When the Rock gets home, it is discovered that he never had a younger brother named David. He never shared a room with this David, as he recalls, etc. Years and many therapy sessions later, he comes to terms with the fact that David didn't exist. Though on one occasion, when his mom was a little tipsy after drinking, she shares with him that they tried for a 3rd child, but miscarried. And they would have named that child David had he been a boy. What makes this the Mandela effect for The Rock is when a person from church asked him how David was, because they had attended school with David as a kid. The Rock says good and leaves it at that, not wanting to escalate any further with the situation. The Rock signs off this story with a photo of the pool room that he believes they stayed at in the Marriott, which the Marriott was destroyed along with the other buildings during the 9/11 event. And then also ends with a touching little message to David that he's loved, and he hopes that one day he slips into a universe where David is in. Finn. So, I suppose we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grandma Inquisitions at this point. I got one. So, I will quote it here.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Danny was way too old and cool to hang out with a bunch of kids still in elementary school, but having another person along with a driver's license to spell Mike made sense. To spell Mike? What the hell does that mean?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, it says, it's like, but having another person along with a driver's license to spell Mike made sense. So I think it's supposed to mean, I think this is just a simple, wrong word.
Spelling, you say?
Yeah. I think maybe it should be to help Mike made sense. Or to aid Mike, maybe? I don't know. To spell Mike is weird. But I think it's just a simple, just mistake or a typo.
I feel like autocorrect went mad on that one.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I tried racking my brain. What could this have been a typo from originally? But the best I could come up with was to help Mike is what I figure should be there. So, but
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it basically does.
Over that.
You just typo-kneesed right over it.
I really did.
Yeah. Well, I knew what it meant, basically to split the driving.
Yeah, we've done that on
So.
numerous occasions. So yeah.
Yeah.
We understand the context of the tactic that's here. It's just the way it was to spell Mike is what's weird.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but it's just a simple typo. I think it should be to help Mike. I'll move on. Mikey, the E stands for evil. Uncle Mikey, the E stands for evil. What have you got?
I have a conjunction junction.
Ooh. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
It's greenish yellow. And I don't care what the internet or the books in my parents' attic suggest. It was always spelled Bernstein growing up. It was Bernstein. And the thing that changed, it wasn't a minor detail. It was awful, and after a week I was ready to be done with it. It closed at 6, and it was already almost 5. But no matter what I said, he refused to let me tie the stupid thing for him. It read 5:02. It was so fast. It took me a minute to gain my composure, to haltingly explain that I had somehow lost my little brother. It was after midnight, and Uncle Mike had barely rolled the camper to a stop in our driveway when I jumped out, rushing to the back door where my mom stood, bathrobe held clutched around her. It took me a second to answer, but I told her he was fine and left it at that. Finn.
Okay, two things. First off, this might be a Mandela effect thing for me. Is it not Berenstein because there's an E and an R and an E, or is it actually Bernstein?
Oh my god.
or Bernstein? what, like the stain thing isn't my problem here. The thing is, like, I've always like read it as Baron. Am I wrong?
Just the pronunciation you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just a pronunciation. Yeah. Okay. Like, yeah. But that's the one thing I got there. It's just like, wait, is it Bernstein or Berenstein? Like, is one of those E's silent?
Berenstein. Stain?
Stain. Oh God. Welcome to the Mandela effect, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing I wanted to say, it's like, it sounded like, because it's like, oh, it was like yellowish green, and like it really kind of made it seem like a creature had like just eaten David and then like made him disappear from reality by devouring him in your little and then even by the end it's just like, he's fine, everything's fine.
Yeah, but that was like Nair saying that.
Yeah. That was Nair / The Rock saying that to his mom, not the girl at the church. But yeah.
And for those unaware, Mikey does these strings of sentences to highlight all the sentences in a story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ends, or buts, because there's always better words to use.
Indeed.
And sometimes when you read them back to back, it comes out with hilarious results that are very different from the actual story.
Mm-hmm.
And then on to me, I guess.
So,
because
sorry, I'm sorry. I got
it. My turn.
Yeah. And on to. Oh, okay.
I actually don't have any.
All right. Okay. I apologize for not introducing your section. All right. Well, I
just staring at a wall.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. Duh. But yeah, I suppose we'll move on to actual thoughts then. So I'll start with this one here. I know because every detail of that pool trip is burned indelibly into my brain. And this is regarding like David's disappearance and stuff like that. Or at least like the lead up to that, like before we find out that like David goes missing and stuff like that. And honestly, it was like, I was like, as soon as I read this part, I was like, well, rip David. Because I honestly saw this coming as soon as like this part and like a little bit earlier they started referencing things. I was like, yeah, David's not long for this world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He's either getting killed off or going to go missing. But also indelibly, that is a $2 word.
I did not know that word before. It's in a way that cannot be removed or forgotten.
Yeah. I
kind of figured just based on the context that's what it was, but I didn't look it up until now.
Yeah, same, honestly. But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. He talked to her for a couple of minutes, softly so I couldn't hear, periodically casting glances to where I was sitting on the bed. Before finishing the conversation and letting me say goodbye, my mom told me to do what Uncle Mike and Danny said, that she'd see me soon, but that David was fine, that I'd see when I got home. I got changed in the same bathroom that not an hour ago I'd argued with David to let me help him tie his bathing suit. Oh, sure. Sorry, it was a bathing suit that he tied up, not shoes.
Yeah, I was going to interrupt you, but I already interrupted multiple times during the rundown, so I just let that one go.
Fine. Yeah, my bad.
Because I don't know how many people wear shoes going to the pool.
Yeah, I mean, like you wear it leading up to the pool, but yeah, even like then, like I remember trips I've gone on where I've run to like the pool from the hotel room, and as a kid, and I've usually just like gone barefoot.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, regarding this is like, man, this kind of gave me chills, like especially that ending part where like just like the whole like being in the bathroom, not like an hour like after like seeing David and some of that and believing it, but also like Uncle Mike's conversation and like talking to the mom and then like finding out that like it's like, no, we don't have a kid. It's like, what's going on? It's like everything's fine, just go. And then him just like glancing back at the kid who's like saying that they have have a sibling that they don't have and such. Like it made me start thinking about the implications of like being that person who has a kid tell you that they have an imaginary sibling. Like the niece cultist has actually kind of done this to me in the past or us in the past. In a few instances where like she's made up a little story about having a ghost family that she talks to, and like she lives with us, like our family, but like she sees her ghost family periodically. Like that's what she'd say a couple of years back. And even had an imaginary friend / sibling, like like a sister that lives in the walls or in the mirror named Bloody Mary. Like
this is
like,
normal.
Yeah, she's had like a number of like little imaginary friends that she made up through like in like the first couple of years of her life. That would creep the fuck out of all of us, but it was like also like, oh, she's cute and creepy and I love her. Yeah. She's got such a cool imagination. And now I can't shake off this idea that like, what if she simply shifted between realities and I'm the Uncle Mike in the situation? Like maybe her ghost family is like a family that maybe she's like shifts between like two realities when no one's looking.
Yeah,
and so she visits
her reality. She can like commune with spirits or something,
or like maybe she's going to like a universe where like everyone is dead but there's ghosts around, but she's the only one that slips in that's like real, like alive. Or she's seeing this like kind of like projection of like that other reality on our reality, because like the membrane between the two like alternate realities is so close that like she can kind of see like this other family that walks around our house. So thanks, Shadow Swimmer. I hate it.
But in a good way.
Yeah, exactly. Like you made me start like I got a question. Like it's a really cool idea of just like I think there's actually some fodder here for like a story from the uncle's point of view, or from like the person who's like around the child's point of view, of saying that, like, because like that is also a creepy, like out of context kind of like nightmare situation. But yeah.
Don't you do actually, do you still have that Uncle's game ongoing?
No, the Uncle
tabletop?
No, yeah, the Uncles of Penny Dreadmill. We finished that up a couple probably like last year or two. But it's all posted on RPX, the role playing exchange.
Podcast. Yeah, unintentional plug, but I was gonna say like you could almost like incorporate this directly into that, because like the characters are literally uncles and they're taking care of a kid, right?
Yeah. Well, that entire campaign was like based off of the early instances of my niece cultist like talking about like the weird things that she would pretend to see and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I need to run a Monster of the Week game where like the briefer of like the monster hunters is like their niece who like gets visions or sees things or writes things up or things and stuff like that. So yeah, it spawned out of the idea of like having a bunch of like monster hunter uncles in like a little like in a pretend tea party with their little niece as she like gives them the information about this week's monster.
Nice.
And a couple of those monsters were loosely based off of things that my niece cultist has told me about. So like the joke master, who she doesn't like to see his face, but he lingers up in the hills behind our house.
Okay.
Thanks, niece cultist.
This is fine.
Genuinely, thank you. You helped inspire a monster. for a game. So yeah, that was like one of my like the highlight of like of being around Niece Cultist was just like watching her like play on her trike in the driveway and like during COVID and stuff, and then like her just like keep looking at something like over my shoulder into the forested hills behind her house, and I'm just like, what are you looking at, honey? And she's like, oh, the joke master. I don't like to see his face. He likes to tell jokes though. It's like, oh, cool. I don't want to look around. I don't want to look behind me now. Thanks.
Just stare at the floor.
Yeah. Let's go inside, hon.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah. Segueing back to this story at hand. Once again, thanks, Shadow Swimmer. I hate it. But I also love it. You know I love it and I hate it at the same time. But I'll move on. So here's the next thing I have. Someone reading this account might argue my story isn't an example of the Mandela effect. After all, by definition, the phenomenon is a collective false memory shared by a bunch of people. To that I'd say, last Christmas, I was visiting my parents and went to midnight mass with them. After the service, I happened to be talking to a woman a few years younger than me, whose family my parents have known for the better part of 30 years. She asked me how my brother David was doing, that she hadn't seen him since their 8th grade graduation. It took me a second to answer, but I told her he was fine and left it at that. I figured it would just be easier that way. So I'm glad the story does address that little hiccup in the concept, like that, because it brings it up as like, oh, like here's my own Mandela effect, and then like as you're reading, it's like, well, you're the only one that knows it, and then they straight up just address like, well, you may be wondering why I think this is the Mandela effect. Well, it's because here's the corroboration.
Yeah.
And perhaps it could be a little bit like I think maybe there could even be like a little bit more added at the end here. Like maybe more recently there have been other people who have commented to The Rock about David. Like not like ridiculous numbers because like that would be obscene, but like maybe like more than a second person. But it's not necessarily like problematic as like because at least we get like a second person. It's not just like one person's false memory. It's like now we have a secondary separate person connected but not always in the character's life that corroborates a false memory or this Mandela effect. I also like because like the kid, like David that The Rock knows or Nair knows was 5, and I think in the 5th grade.
No, 5 years old.
5 years old. So 5 years is appropriate age for 8th grade.
No, that's
No.
how old he was.
Yeah,
in
He was
8th grade,
5.
in 8th grade, you're 13 or 14 years old.
Okay,
So
that's
the
what I thought.
So
Yeah, the memories of the other person that's corroborating this has memories of David when he's older than even The Rock knew him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Just so it's like that made me like it make me more interested because like I knew that there was like 8th grade is a little bit older than he should have been. And it was like, oh, so maybe she slipped into it from like that reality as well or something. But yeah.
But the problem is that that's not the Mandela effect, because she should remember him when he's 5 years old, not when he's 14 years old type thing.
No,
It's-
Colt is saying that
yeah.
she's potentially from the other universe, where
Yeah.
in that universe there is a David that is
that grew up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. But again, that sort of also just claims that it's not the Mandela effect because they don't have a shared memory of when he was young.
Well, it's a Mandela effect it's connected to the Mandela effect in the fringe theory that of like the multiple universes theory of the Mandela effect versus
because like
Yeah,
in the
the false memory.
universe
Yeah.
where Nair / The Rock is, there is no David ever.
Yeah.
And yet he remembers a David, so it's like he like it's hard to tell which is the quote unquote real universe if he is like jumping through different ones.
Yeah.
But potentially that that cousin or whoever she was, lady, whatever.
No, just a random like friend of David's. Yeah.
Yeah, that random friend could have been from the previous one
Yeah.
or some other one. Like maybe, like who knows, you know?
Yeah,
But
exactly. Like, yeah.
They ended up being in the same universe to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, again, like I think the name for the Mandela effect is proper because like it's connected to that theory, that fringe theory. But like you also kind of sometimes like for like a title for the story, you'd probably want something that's like not too like long. I'm looking at you, Reddit, no sleep. But and like so like that's and something that is like familiar to a lot of people. So like the Mandela effect as a title is still appropriate here because it's connected to that theory of the Mandela effect. But
this is more multiverse theory than Mandela effect.
yeah, but multiverse theory is also got its own branches of other theories about it. So like it's better to like find something that's tied to it.
That's similar, but not it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Also,
I'm not saying
talk about the title. I feel like the title is a bit too broad because like
it is also even broad too. Yeah.
Yeah, because this isn't even a story about the actual Mandela effect. It's about this guy's experience with the phenomenon that is sort of like the Mandela effect on a super small scale.
Yeah. But I think maybe the Mandela effect was chosen because it's a simple title for a big idea.
But also, like, doesn't have very good search clarity. Like, granted, when I
Yeah.
type in the Mandela effect creepypasta, this is like the fourth thing that comes up. But
Yeah.
There's nothing in the title that specifically talks about this instance of this happening. You know?
Yeah, it's true.
It's like if every single slasher creepypasta was called Slasher. You know?
Yeah.
Or murder. Death.
Yeah. No, I get you. Like it is like because I was also like trying to think that, but I was also trying to like think it's like, well, I mean, like it's fine for what it is, but like on a glance. But yeah, you're right. Like there maybe is a better name or title that could be used for this. But
when I first read the title,
yeah.
I thought it was going to be a creepypastification
of the Mandela effect,
of the actual Mandela effect, using the actual, like it does reference Berenstain Bears and Monopoly Guy and stuff.
Yeah,
but it doesn't. It's not directly about all those main things that everyone talks about when they talk about the Mandela effect, which is what I thought this was going to be when I got into it.
Yeah,
considering the title.
But it is about like the broad stroke like concept of the Mandela effect of like somebody recalling something from their childhood that they know to be true, but no one else believes that to be true.
Except
or like
for
no
one person right there.
Yeah, but then that's the thing. Like that's like that because they're like for the Mandela effect to like be of the Mandela effect, there needs to be corroboration of like the same thing. Like there has to be other people.
But the Mandela effect is like a bunch of people in a room saying, "Hey, the Monopoly guy has a monocle," and they go, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." Until they look it up and they go, "Oh, he didn't."
Well, yeah, that's the example. That's an example of the Mandela effect of that concept. And both theories of that are presented here are actual theories that people have for the Mandela effect, like the false memory thing, which is likely the actual reason. But there is that other theory that like people are slipping between like alternate realities of the world because like that is a fringe theory that I've seen outside of this story, like beyond like in the past. So. Or have I? Has it just a false memory? Oh God, I've gone cross-eyed.
Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, no, like I have actually like this rang true because I did like when I was reading this and like they're talking about the fringe theory, or the alternate reality theory. I have heard that before for like the Mandela effect.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, yeah, I guess
so if we dig too deep into this, like a lot of things could be Mandela effect like it's like freaking the Marvel movies, like with all their the multiverses going on and stuff, is technically could be Mandela effecty.
Yeah, or like exactly. Like that is. I mean, honestly, that probably could be.
Like where do you draw the line? You know,
exactly. Like Mandela effect. I think the bottom line is like it may not be the most accurate title for the story, but it is probably the simplest way to like get this idea, like get the title for this concept that's being presented. So, but I'll move on to the next thing I have here, actually. I wonder at times, was I the one who crossed dimensions, or was he? The Marriott in New York we stayed at was destroyed along with most of the rest of the World Trade Center complex during the terrorist attack on 9/11. So even if I'd want to go back now and check things out as an adult to see if I could find evidence of tachyons or wormholes or whatever, I couldn't. And I was like, reading that part, I was like, oh, that's actually a really good way to tie off any possible way of going back, is like have the building no longer exist in the future. And in fact, I checked it, there was a Marriott in the World Trade Center plaza at the time.
Oh, wow.
And that is
check that, eh?
Yeah, I wanted to double check and make sure that was actually accurate. And yeah, it's also like it doesn't hurt that the World Trade Center Plaza was like a block sized like infrastructure building. Like it wasn't just two towers; it was like a bunch of other buildings that were all connected on a city block. So
I feel like I've never seen you underneath your cloak. I feel like you might have a diver outfit on underneath that, because like you're always the one that does all the deep dives on these.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's also assuming that specific Marriott had the author or the narrator here, the character, is assuming that Marriott was or had something strange, had like a strange liminal rift in the slide or near it in the first place. Like the cool thing about this effect is that it could really be anywhere. It could be any time. It may not necessarily be bound to a specific location. Like somebody could just slip in whenever they're when they're taking a walk or driving and stuff like that. They could slip in between realities and stuff like that in terms of the concept. Like it may not necessarily be a bound rift, but the character's just speculating. It's like, well, I can't even go test that theory that place had a rift because of the World Trade Center issue. So and on this I'm just gonna quickly tiptoe into this. It's like, I know the last story we did we got sort of touchy about using something close to real world tragedy, but in this case I think I don't think I have the same hang-ups as the previous story, because it's just referencing an event that happened in the recent history, but not it's not naming names or anything like that. It's not naming real people and stuff like that. It's using the event itself, which is fine, because it also doesn't say that event was caused by something supernatural or the rift or anything like that. It's just saying it's just using this as kind of a way to close off a way for the character to go and corroborate. So they're just they're stuck kind of just postulating and getting blue balls kind of thing. So I think that's one of the, just further clarify, because we were talking about the 9/11, this story does mention the 9/11 tragedy, but it just references the event and has a location nearby that would have been there in the 90s. So yeah. But I'll move on to the next thing I have. I did manage to find one picture of the pool slide, or at least one exactly like I remembered it. But the hotel and everything around is gone. I get it. See, guys, I get it. Exactly like he remembers it, because, this story is about false memories and the Mandela effect. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, that's true. His memories could have been screwed up a bit. That might not be where they were at all. Or
it may not even be exactly like he remembers it this way, but he may have that's how our brains work. A lot of the time, we'll see something in a photo and it's like, oh man, I remember it exactly like that, even though you probably didn't remember it exactly like that.
Yeah.
I've done that so many times for so many things in the past. But yeah, regarding the actual image, it's a really good example of what people online call a liminal space. It's definitely got the vibes with that. It definitely vibes with this story of the contest and also the contest themes and the concept at hand. My one problem is I wish it had been placed down near the paragraph where this quote is. Where I pulled, I look where it doesn't. It's not placed in the right spot, I think, in the actual regards to the story. Like,
Mhm.
like it's around the time where like his brother like begs him to go down the slide the same time as him, and he
Mhm.
doesn't. He just goes down. I think honestly, this picture should have been where, like he says, I actually found a photo of the site. So then it gives you again. It's a thing about corroboration. I'd even like wouldn't mind if this was like used as like an end cap sort of like image for the story itself. Like it's at the story ends, and then we're left with this image and like the little header underneath it about the.
I like agree and also disagree with you here.
That's fair, yeah.
Because like having it where it is, you know exactly what that area looks like as they're going into that area.
Yeah,
which is nice. But realistically, having it where he said, "Oh, I have a picture. Here it is," kind of deal also makes sense. You know?
Yeah. I could definitely go either way, but I think I definitely side more with like it should have been like where the character says like, "Oh, I even have this photo that like of what I believe to be the an image similar to the pool slides." So.
Mm-hmm. And it does describe the pool slide area well enough without the image, anyways, that you would probably get the same sort of visual, anyways.
Mm.
So yeah, I'll just agree with you. It's easier.
I mean, again, either or, but yeah. And then my last actual thought. I hope it's one. It's this is the very end like line. Basically, it's like, I hope it's one you get to meet your niece and nephew. I hope there I made a different choice, and we went down that slide together. I hope it's one where we both came out of the other side. Shut up! You're crying. Honestly, the ending here like was a nice little like melancholy ending with to this weird liminal creepy story. Like the character is just signing off with like a sentimental message to like the brother who may never see this, but like in case he does, like we like I bet our lives could have been awesome like together, kind of thing like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. It's like the really sad line at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's like, I bet we were fun.
Yes.
Or it's like that melancholy goodbye kind of thing. And it's like, shut up, you're crying. So goddamn wholesome for this weird liminal space creepypasta.
It really is, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the end of my actual thoughts. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
All right.
Take us on a journey with your Winnebago. No,
so my first actual thought here is that he wears a watch to a swimming pool.
Yeah.
And most watches are water resistant, not waterproof. It'd be nice if the story just said that he had a waterproof watch.
I guess. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up with all of my watches being waterproof. So I just
he's a dumb kid. Is the other
yeah,
thing?
That's also true.
Yeah, and the watch is perpetually at 5:02. Because it's broken.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh, you know what? That could have been. I thought it might have been like because he slipped between realities. It might just be because he's a dumb kid and put his and his watch stopped.
Yeah, so he's just basically using like a bracelet now.
Yeah,
because he does like the look of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My next actual thought is that the slides reminded me of a Goosebumps book.
Oh,
I believe it was One Day at Horrorland.
Oh.
Anyway, if memory serves,
I don't remember actually finishing that book.
Spoilers incoming.
Well, if memory serves, they go to an amusement park called Horrorland.
Yeah.
And there's slides. So there's, I think, 4 friends, and there happen to be 4 slides at the top. And so they each go down one, and then they reach the bottom, and there's only 3 exits. And they go, where did our friend go? And then they all, being stupid kids, decide to go back up and go down the one that he went down and end up in like some hellscape type thing.
Yeah, they end up in actual horror land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of figured they'd go down again, and there's only 2 at the bottom. Like another one's lost.
And just keep doing it, yeah. Or I just love it. It's like, yeah, they go down like oh, the fourth slide, that fourth slide is actually like got like a meat grinder, and you just hear. Well, because like I get like I don't think that's. I'm basing my knowledge on Horrorland off of like the TV adaptation. But I do remember like that they were basically like trying to kill like a lot of the rides were like trying to kill the people because it was actually like a like a reality TV show like or game show for monsters.
Was Horrorland like a really big aspect of Goosebumps? Because they made a video game based on that
Yes.
too. That's my only exposure to it.
I think it was very popular, like both the book and like the TV show adaptation of it, because like there was a video game. I think there was multiple things regarding Horrorland, and they've returned to Horrorland like several times.
I guess because it's like rides and stuff, there's a lot of potential for a lot of different types of creepy things.
Yeah,
that's the appeal of it.
Yeah, well, because I remember, I should have actually gone back and read Horrorland, but like I remember actually the one I read was Return to Horrorland, where it was the kids and a supposed like agents from the government who wanted to like try and expose Horrorland. And so they go back to Horrorland under the cover that like the agents are their parents, and like taking them to this place to try and like get evidence that like there's actually a secret monster race like using this place to like torture humans for amusement and such. Yeah, like that's my like was my recollection to it. But I did that's interesting that, yeah, they have like the slide a slide, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense for like the Horrorland, like it just the third one is, or the fourth one is just like it takes the one kid, and like now that kid's gone, like been taken by the ride or the monsters themselves.
Yeah, well, that's just the correlation that I found. That sort of like, oh, it slides. It's like that, but it is different.
Yeah, honestly, when I was reading this, I thought we were gonna get something like what happened in it wasn't Abandoned by Disney. It was the sequel. I think A Few Suggestions, where they talk about the water slide at the park, and there's like apparently there's like a rift inside the water slide where like a kid goes in through the top and doesn't come out the other end. And it's like some kind of like a rift that takes them away, or like some kind of an anomaly within the slide. I remember we talked about it, like me and Dr. Leviathan way back when talked about that particular part of that story. So might just be like me correlating that with any kind of water slides now because of that experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. And my next actual thought is that I like the idea of multiple realities, and the whole people moving on, or like continuing living in different realities, which honestly in our reality would be more of a, well, they actually died in our reality but they continued living in an alternate reality type thing.
But that's
so that's the more realistic version of this, is that
God. So it's like Super Meat Boy, where like you finish a round and then you get to see all the times you died.
Yeah.
It starts with like you see your one self, and then you start running, you die once, and then you keep going, and like you're seeing all the times your character, like all the iterations your character died from like the attempts. As yeah, no, well, that is like the idea behind like string theory, I think, is what it is, or it might be a different name for like that theory of like branching timelines, or branching like alternate universes of the world, like where like one choice changes like, or like separates the universe into two time streams kind of thing, and it goes on and on and on and on.
All right, and then my next note here is, Dave's not here, man. He's out there somewhere in the multiverse.
Yeah. No, it's me, Dave.
I think we'll get many options to get Cheech and Chong references in on the show, so I'm glad someone did that.
Yeah.
And that's into my actual thoughts.
All right. Gamer.
That's me. So, right off the bat, I like that the first bit of the story is like a well-described, or maybe possibly over-described bit explaining what the Mandela effect is.
Mhm.
So, like, even if you've never heard of it before, you have all the info here up front to understand the story. Otherwise, it would pull the reader out of the story to have to like Google things to explain it and find examples and stuff, and then go back to the story. So I give it props for that.
Yeah.
But it is a little long-winded with the explanation because like you get it pretty early, and then it keeps going. You know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, fair.
But it's with that sort of thing, it's better to over-explain than under-explain because it's not like it annoyed me.
If anything, this probably ticked off a box for you. It's like, aha.
Yeah, I was like,
'Cause it-
wahoo.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Quote here: "He was only 5, and though I certainly loved him after a fashion, in my 10-year-old mind, he was the most annoying little kid in the world." So I haven't heard that term before.
Well,
Loved him after a fashion.
oh, really? Okay.
Have
yeah.
you guys heard that?
I feel like I have, though I can't recall. Again, this might be Mandela effect everywhere. But like I do recall, like I do feel like I've heard that phrase before.
Yeah, I've never heard it, so I looked it up.
Yeah.
It basically means something was done, but not very well. So, like in this context, he's saying that he loves him, but like loosely so.
Yeah, like it's like how you love your siblings. Well, like the story, like this, yeah, like how you love your siblings, but like mostly because like they're family, or like you like you don't like them, but you have to love them.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like there's like a like the sibling thing, or like a maternal or like familial kinship to your relatives or to your siblings, but you may not necessarily like them because of what they do.
Yeah. It's just the wording of it is so weird. Like after a fashion.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand how that wording became that, but that's fine.
I think it's because like you. It says you love them after a fashion. I think it's like you love them despite what they do, like after a fashion, like after all they've done, you still love them.
I understand the
Yeah.
definition. I don't understand why fashion is used.
It's probably Old Englishy term.
Yeah, basically.
Yep.
I had to guess. Like it's just yeah.
Either way, I shall move on. I argued with my mom that he shouldn't come, that he would only be a hindrance, but she made no bones about it. Learned another thing.
Really? Okay.
Haven't heard made no bones about it before, but I
Really?
understood,
Okay.
I understood considering like in the context of it. But
Yeah.
I did look it up to get clarification. It means answering clearly without hesitation.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely heard that one. It's like ain't no bones about it. Like, yeah.
I have not.
Fair enough.
Let me live under my rock. It's fine.
Okay.
It's cozy here.
Stay there, sweet summer child.
Yeah. He's fine. And then my next note is basically just I like the disappearance of the brother being connected to the Mandela effect, because like most of the time, as per the examples, the Mandela effect is just like misremembering brand spellings or designs. So like less important things.
Or yeah.
Or like
Or Mandela.
Yeah, which is like the reason it's called that, of course. But it's like the opposite of that, because people thought he died, but he didn't.
Well, no, I was gonna say it's not really a reverse. It's just like the literal like example is reversed, but like the concept is the same.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
The literal example is opposite. It's not that people believe someone died. It's like even though the facts say they didn't, it's someone believes that someone was alive, even though the facts say otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that being said, when it first dropped, it did make me wonder if David was just an imaginary brother that Nair created, and he believed in him so fully that he thought he was real. Like when the mother took the phone off of Uncle Mikey, I I half expected her to tell Uncle Mike that David was just imaginary.
Yeah. But I think it was better that like they just said like everything's gonna be fine, like, and then wait for him to get home, because like that's probably better for Uncle Mike to like rein in the situation.
Yeah.
And to like have the kid have this like existential crisis and like freak out like the for the next 8-hour car ride.
Oh, I don't mean that Uncle Mike should have told David about, or told The Rock about this, but I just mean like, yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Oh my god, I just realized we missed a really good opportunity. So like his The Rock's older brother is Danny.
Yeah.
The younger brother is David. We should have named The Rock Dwayne. Because of like the D's. The D.
Yeah,
yeah.
We probably should have.
Yep. Sorry, I'm
go back and fix it in post.
No, it's too late.
Let's go.
Ugh, effort.
Damn it. Okay, fine. Either way, I'll move on.
Okay.
Actually, this last part we kind of talked about how the random person said that they knew of David, but it's like after a time where like The Rock even knew, or after Dwayne lost connection with David when he just disappeared. So it's kind of cool that someone else experienced him growing up, but he wasn't there. He's weird, but kind of cool. If this last part wasn't here, though, I probably would have just said that I probably would have said that Dwayne just thought that he had an imaginary brother that he just believed in so much. Because, like, but with the clarification, we have facts that say otherwise, quote unquote.
Yeah.
That's about it for my notes until final thought.
All right. Well, on to final thoughts. Yeah, I'm still going to recommend this one. Nothing has really changed about that. It's a nice little Twilight Zone or like Outer Limits kind of creepy story. And I think it definitely is appropriate for like a liminal space kind of contest kind of thing. Because liminal space doesn't necessarily, like, first off, the pool is like like that kind of pool is definitely like liminal space material, but also the word liminal is like a transition from one place to another. Like that's by definition what it is. So like the idea of this is like you are shifting from one place to another. You're shifting like the concept of shifting from one alternate reality to another is a liminal space. So it's both literal it's both figuratively and literal in the sense for the story. So, and also like I just can't get enough of like liminal space stories and creepy liminal stories and such. So I really enjoyed this one. I also like, again, like I didn't actually cry at the end, but it was like goddamn wholesome by the end. It was like kind of what I wanted for like the ending of the story. So yeah.
Is it though? I feel like you'd want it creepier.
I mean, like I could have liked it creepier, but like I wasn't disappointed with the ending. Is what I guess what I'm trying to say. Like after I finished reading, and I was like, that was not. I don't feel good, but I feel content with the ending of this.
Just like the narrator.
Yeah,
like he's
it's bitter. There's a bittersweetness. There's a melancholy, like I keep saying, and like that definitely translates through the writing for me. So, Mikey, your final thoughts?
So, I really like the multiple reality angle, and that was sort of spooky, but as stated, if you take out the part where he talks to someone who met David in 8th grade, or last saw him in 8th grade, then up until that point, David is just an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
And that's probably what years of therapy told him, is that he's just an imaginary friend.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like that's definitely.
Yeah. And he really shouldn't have said that David's fine. He should have said, "Who's David?" Because I mean, he's been going to therapy for years, and or maybe have him break out and be like, and just remember David and be
His eyes start to twitch and it goes wee wee.
Yeah.
That being said, it does explain why he just said that.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want her to go through all the stuff that he went through to get over it.
Yeah, or he didn't want to have some kind of he didn't want to escalate things. Like basically, he didn't want to cause a scene in the church.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah. So he chose the path that a lot of protagonists in films and stories that deal with this do not go with, and just oh yeah, he's fine, and then just walk away. He effectively noped out of that situation.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah. Overall, I'm still going to recommend it because it was an enjoyable read. Even though I would have loved for them to say that the watch was waterproof.
Okay, that's
a random reason.
You know what, Mikey? In an alternate universe, the story does in fact say that, so you can take solace in that fact.
Mm-hmm.
Or in a later
watch model and everything.
in a later editorial revision of the story that Shadow Swimmer might do, maybe that will have happened.
Yeah, maybe we will have switched into that universe by then, aka it being edited.
Yeah. Also, I gotta bring this up. I quickly looked up if they're actually another name for the multiverse theory, and so I think it's another title that might be handy for this story would be you could either have it be Many Worlds or David, or better yet, Sliders.
Sorry, what?
Sliders.
There you go. I figured it was Sliders considering the way you said it, but it was so quiet. I don't think it would have shown up.
Yeah, I'm curious if Discord actually picked that up.
That's okay.
But yeah,
Sliders.
Or just slide.
Yeah, because it's to do with slides.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something like that could have been not to kick a dead horse. But there could be some other names could have been done rather than Mandela effect, but
the Marriott incident, there's lots of things that could tie it directly to this story more than just the Mandela effect.
Yeah, for sure. But so Mikey, I guess you said you recommended this one.
Yep.
Okay. Gamer.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Would you classify this as a liminal space story? Because that is what this was created for that contest.
And I would say yes.
Aren't liminal spaces generally one person gets thrown into this huge empty room and they don't have no way to get out?
That is
Sometimes
one.
There's other people.
So that is actually one liminal space. There's actually been a series of video series and TikTok videos and stuff like that for liminal spaces where somebody accidentally slips out of our reality and into a reality where something happened and there's nobody around and they're just in this empty world. It's the world, it's the earth. They're walking around a city and there's no one there, and it's 5 years in the future that they've slipped into and stuff like that. So something's happened.
That's my point. Generally, anytime I hear liminal space, it's an empty ass room. It's very empty one way or another. The most populated liminal space thing I've read was the IKEA one, where there was a bunch of people that got put into this liminal space and they've been trying to survive.
That, like I said, that's one aspect of liminal space this
example was a guy that was by himself in some.
Well, okay, yeah, but I'm saying but it's also liminal spaces also by definition liminal spaces before the back rooms and stuff like that really kind of hammered home this idea of being lost in an abandoned endless location. Liminal space also referred to the transitionary period, transitioning from one thing to another, dramatic, in a subtle yet dynamic fashion.
Yeah,
so,
I suppose.
Yeah. And again, I kind of applaud this story for trying to think outside the box of what we would perceive as liminal space, because like it does also give us a photo of a pool that is very much like in line with current like ideas for like what a liminal space is. Because like again, like I've seen a ton of like you said, like places like abandoned places that people like jump into, or in like video games or in like media and stuff like that, of liminal spaces and back rooms where they stumble into a pool that looks exactly like this.
Yeah.
But like I kind of commend the person on trying to be like creative and out of the box, or outside the box, with like what is a liminal space with their story here. But yeah, it definitely isn't like I'll give you this, gamer. It isn't what I was expecting when I heard that it was from an entry for a liminal space. I thought it was actually going to be about the pool itself, like the character being trapped in an empty pool space or something like that. But like the way it is, it's not terrible.
Yeah, and that's why I'm bringing all this up. Like, there's two aspects of this story that made me like scratch my head and be like, "Is this?" But like, that being said, it wasn't enough to deter me from enjoying the story and liking how it went. It was just odd how it's Mandela effect, but it takes you to the end of the story to see it, and it's on a small scale, and it's liminal space, but like kinda, at least based on my terrible knowledge of liminal spaces.
Well, yeah, and to my like again, to your credit, I have been doing a lot of deep dive into liminal spaces again.
Of course, that's why you.
Yep, that's exactly why.
Yeah.
I've always had this diving suit. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Fair. You just
yeah.
leave the mouth open underneath the hood?
Yeah, I just pop it off every so often.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, all that being said, I still enjoyed this, and I don't really know if those changes are necessary. I guess I still believe the title's a little too broad, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Everything else was nice, and it was a good read, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, still recommend it.
Okay, cool. Well, that has been this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. We're all on Twitter. You can check us out there. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W, because his name is very long.
Yeah.
And I'm at Review Cultist.
I wonder if when it finally fully becomes X, it'll give me one more letter.
I think by that point they will have renamed it something else, because Musk has sold off the company.
Has he?
There's been some things recently where it's like he's like, it sounds like he's going to just like either sell it or not, or something.
He has basically fucked it up repeatedly. We gotta stop talking about X Twitter every time.
Well, it's social. It's a social media platform that we use. So
I don't use it though. That's the thing.
I do though, and that's how we outreach.
I bring it up considering I don't even use it really.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I like how you're the one that's like constantly talking about it.
Yeah, it's so weird. Anyways, please continue.
Yeah, moving on. You can also send us emails at Al Dente Rigamortis, I almost said the old-fashioned way.
It kind of is.
Yeah, no, but I spliced that into the wrong part of the sentence.
Oh.
It's like, you can also check us. You can also send us emails the old-fashioned way at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. We can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, liminal space stories, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah! And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tiers with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without your stories that you write and post online for people to look at and enjoy, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we have nothing to talk about. So, thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.